What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about if Beyond Good and Evil 2 will be at E3 2021. And hey, I know the odds aren't high. I know that could be just an immediate no from a lot of people. If you ask that question, they'd say, nope, moving on. But I think there's a possibility of certain things happening at E3. It really depends on how Ubisoft wants to do their show. Now, Ubisoft is technically doing their Ubisoft Forward thing. It's on June 12th. It's, I believe, the first day of E3. And as of right now, still, it's the only confirmed day and time we know from any of these big publishers. You know, Microsoft, Bethesda, all of these, Sega, Square Enix, Warner Bros., all of these. None of them have a date or a time confirmed as of right now, but Ubisoft does, which is definitely exciting. So, we talked about a couple other Ubisoft titles that could potentially be there or could potentially not be there. Skull and Bones was one of the first videos we did about E3, and now we're moving on to Beyond Good and Evil 2, and there is a little bit, very, very small, but a little bit of new information that we got on this game in regards to when they talked about their fiscal report just a few days ago, around mid last week. So I want to talk about all of that in this video really quickly. If you guys haven't already, and if you guys are new and all that stuff, make sure you guys are subscribed, and you guys have the bell icon turned on so you know all these videos go up. We could be at 50K. We could be very close to 50K, so make sure, or I guess help us get there, really. Give the video a like. And final thing, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. Would love to have you guys over there. Link is in the description below. Okay, so the new news, if you even want to call it that, technically it's nothing, I guess, mind-blowing, is that the game's still coming. Woo. And that's pretty much what we got from the fiscal report. Now, I mean, that is better than nothing because this game has had a load of controversy. There's been rumors that it's been stuck in development hell. There's been a lot of talk really over the past, I'd say, 2, maybe a little bit even over 2 years about this game. But, you know, in their fiscal report, when they talked to their investors and all that stuff, obviously the free-to-play stuff came up. They talked about, you know, Far Cry 6, and they talked about games that are coming out within basically the next, around the next 9 to 12 months, okay? They even talked about Prince of Persia a little bit. They talked about Skull and Bones, right, because they delayed that, but they said that things are going well. But then they also said how, you know, Star Wars game, going well, not talking about it. Beyond Good and Evil 2, specifically for this video, going well, not going to talk about it. Avatar game. Remember the Avatar game? In fact, I've actually covered the Avatar game on my second channel. That game is still, in fact, happening, and it's still being made, but again, they're not going to talk about it. So Beyond Good and Evil 2 is kind of part of that, I would even say, like, third wave, right? Because they talked about what's coming soon. They moved Skull and Bones to, like, relatively soon, but not, like, you know, again, not within the next year or so. And then they said, okay, well, and here's some of the games we also have that are really far out, but they're like, everything's going okay. Because, again, you're probably not going to tell your investors, I guess, or maybe you would, maybe you should be honest, but I don't think you're going to tell your investors that, like, oh, yeah, this game has issues, and this game has issues, and this game may never come out. We're thinking about canceling this game. Like, I don't think you're going to do all of that in one go. But I want to talk about a little bit of the history. So I found this article from PlayStation Lifestyle on Beyond Good and Evil 2. I think this was because of the whole fiscal report that they did, and it was once described as a quadruple A next-gen experience. Now, I don't even remember that, but I mean, I believe it. I'm not saying, like, I don't think it's true. We've had that name, I guess, float out there. Remember the initiatives, I guess, Project Dark, that game is technically a next gen experience. There was compensation backlash between, like, crowdsourcing. There was supposed to be a playable beta scheduled for 2019 that never happened. There's been Hindu imagery that's drawn concerns. It requires an internet connection to be playing at all time. And then finally, their director left the game altogether because of allegations of toxic behavior. Another person in the industry taken down. Not saying like he didn't deserve it or anything. I'm just saying, like, somebody else that got the axe because of something that they did bad at some point. So, you know, now I knew some of that. I didn't, or maybe I knew all of that, but I kind of forgot that. But yeah, the game's been in a tough bind. Now, I know you came here, the video title is talking about E3, and all I've done is talk about the history of the game. But all of this stuff, I think, you know, comes up when you talk about if the game's going to be at E3. So, to me, it really depends on how long ago a lot of these issues happen, and, like, at what stage of the moving on process are they from those things, right? So they lose, like, one of their leads of the game. Well, like, okay, that is going to cause problems. That is going to hurt the game just naturally for at least a little while. What stage are they at now? Because again, like, to show it at E3, well, let me say this too. So when we talk about E3, they could do, in my opinion, or my like phrase or my saying, is like the EA thing. Now, what EA has done in the past for games like Dragon Age, when they do their Star Wars bundles, remember in years past, they'll do sometimes things where they talk very, like, it's like a trailer almost, right? And they show like the development team, they show sketch work, they have somebody talking over, or they have like voiceover. They have a couple people from the team that are talking about how proud they are to be working on the game. They've done that, I think, like 2 or 3 times with Star Wars projects in the past. Now, that's EA, this is Ubisoft, but if Ubisoft wants to make E3, and it depends on what they want to make E3. So, in the beginning of the video, I said, even for this fiscal report, for their money, they basically broke it up almost in 3 categories. Soon, relatively soon, like a year or so away, and then far out. If they were to do the same thing for E3, then it's possible we do actually get something for Beyond Good and Evil 2. Now, it's been like years since they've shown up. They did show up at E3, but that was years ago. So I do think it's been enough time. I do think it's something that at some point you'd want to eventually let people in on where you are in the process. It's tougher with studio, or like publishers, I should say, like Square Enix, like I guess formerly Bethesda, like Ubisoft, like EA, because for Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, some of them, you're able to talk about your games very far out. You obviously want to push the now and what games you want to buy now, and this is why you need to get the console right now. But you also need to give people reasons to play your games down the line. For a game like Beyond Good and Evil 2, and for Ubisoft, like, they don't have any of that to worry about. You know what I mean? It's really just we push the games that are closest, so maybe Far Cry is the biggest thing that we push, or also, I guess, Rainbow Six Quarantine. Like, these are the biggest things that we push, and then once we're done, then we move on to the next big things that are kind of, upcoming. But I mean, they did it before. Like, when they talked about Beyond Good and Evil 2, like, for the first time, I think they talked about it in all, like, twice at E3s. They really took an approach like Sony, or like even Square Enix when they did Final Fantasy VII Remake or Kingdom Hearts, right? Where, like, they know it's years away. We know it's years away, but they show us anyway. Just because cult classic, something that a lot of people like, the game's probably going to do really well, it's going to excite people, gets the name out there, all of the above, you know what I mean? And I think that's why they did it, fully, because they didn't have anything to show for it. Like, nothing. I mean, I guess there was technically the small little trailer, but they really haven't shown next to anything on this game. And granted, they didn't, I mean, I guess to their credit, they don't really need to, or they didn't really need to. Now, it depends on when the game's coming out. So they say Skull and Bones is like a 2022 to 2023 thing. There's going to be more games that come out in those years. Now, they actually did say, like, long gone are the, I mean, I guess not long gone, but they're dropping the idea that they need to release like 3, 4, 5 big story-driven games all in one year. It may be less. It may be 2 or 3. So, it doesn't have to come out in 2022. No, but is it a candidate to do it? Yeah, it definitely is. Is it a candidate to come out in 2023? Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think even with that, even if the game's 2 years away, I think you could show it at E3. I do. I think you could show a new trailer, because at this point, it's been so long, it's kind of like a reintroduction. Same thing with Skull and Bones, a reintroduction to the franchise. Now, Skull and Bones, I want gameplay as well, but if they just showed a trailer for Skull and Bones just to kind of get the message of, like, what the game is now, it's been long enough since we last saw it where I'd say, okay, that's fine. Like, you have the right to do that, and the reasons make sense, right? Same thing in my opinion for Beyond Good and Evil 2. If they just showed a trailer, it'd be like, well, we probably want more, but to be honest, it's been so long, and there's been a lot of things wrong with the game. Just to show it to us again is definitely a win, right? We can count that as a win. So, it's like the other games I've talked about, some other games, where I hope for it. I'm not expecting it. I personally don't think it'll be there, but honestly, it could. It depends on what, again, it really, to me, depends on what kind of show they're going to do. If they're focusing on the now, definitely not. You know what I mean? It'll be a lot of Far Cry. It'll be Rainbow Six. It'll be DLC for Assassin's Creed, maybe Watch Dogs, like that stuff. It'll be really heavy on the now. But if we get like a Skull and Bones trailer, like if things are moving in this conference and they're like, oh, they're actually showing quite a few things. Oh, they're showing trailers or things for games that are like a year plus out. Prince of Persia, Skull and Bones. If we get trailers for those games, I think it's possible. I think it's possible they throw us a bone and say, it could be Avatar. It could be, maybe they don't even do Beyond Good and Evil 2. Maybe they give us an Avatar trailer, right, to kind of just show us where that game is. So I really do think it's possible. It just depends on what kind of conference they want to do. So let me know, guys, in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think the game is okay? How long out do you think the game is? Do you think it'll be at E3? All those things, let me know in the comments below. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. Again, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. Link for it is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to be doing a lot more Ubisoft videos as the weeks go on, and then we will be covering Ubisoft's E3. Got a lot of E3 plans that I'm very, very excited to announce extremely soon. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you all on the next video.